Client resonance. What does client resonance really mean? And how can you improve your client resonance in your marketing using archetypes and knowing yourself more deeply? So my name is Eileen Burns. I help healers, awakened healers, basically live more of their purpose and attract soul clients. I basically help them go a little bit more soul deep in their business to create a more soul aligned business. So they start attracting more of the clients that they're truly here to help. Those clients that they can share their greatest gifts and make the biggest impact. So what does client resonance really mean? So as healers, we understand energy, we understand vibration, right? And if you look at resonance, if we think about the people that we resonate with in our life, our family members, our friends, our partner, even maybe certain work colleagues, or, there's certain people that we have deeper resonance with, okay? And there's other people that we maybe meet in life, but we just don't resonate with, right? And a lot of that goes down to things like core values, similar ideologies. It can actually come down to also certain levels of awareness, consciousness as well. But from a business and marketing perspective, it is so easy when you are a business to be just so focused and so solution-led that you miss the deeper things that actually would make your audience really get to know you and really build those what we call deep connection points that help them basically understand why they resonate with you. It's like you go into a nightclub, for example, right? If you go into a nightclub and there's all these people, right? And because there's so many people, it's hard to know actually who you truly resonate with in that place, because you might look at people and you think, oh, they look nice, or they look as if they're my type of person. But that might not be the reality. But there is so many people. And when you're marketing, often, if we all went to, for example, if you set up a marketing stall, right, and, a certain amount, percentage of the local population went to that market, there is only going to be a small percent of that market that are going to be often your target audience. Not everyone who comes to that marketplace are going to be your audience. Often they're all looking for different products and services. But even if, for example, the solution that you offer, there is so many people looking for that solution, they may not buy from you and may want to buy from someone else, right? But your job as a business is to try and make your marketing as clear as possible, strong as possible, that the audience that are a perfect fit to you will see you, will understand why you're the perfect fit, and feel that resonance, feel that security, feel that trust, right? Now, there's lots of things that build up trust. There's lots of things like core values. So, having similar values is a big game changer in lots of type of work. And I'm going to explain that in relation to my own life. And one of the things that was a big eye-opener, and actually it was a big eye-opener in many ways, a point in my life when I was actually moving away from certain work, but it was like a flashlight moment where I started to realise why certain types of work came more easy and why other work was such a struggle, right? And it was when I started looking at archetypes more deeply from a psychological perspective in relation to my purpose and my branding and marketing. It was like this course went very deep, right? And it made you go deep. And what happened was, as someone who, I've studied psychology, I've studied some psychotherapy, studied counselling, I studied all sorts of spiritual, holistic therapies. And while my friends and family were going and having families and doing things, I was knee deep in spiritual courses. It's something, it's almost been like a hobby. So I invested most of my income constantly in and also because of so many health challenges and energetic and spiritual challenges that I had, that many people couldn't. I just felt they weren't giving me the whole truth, and so I went seeking, like many of us do. And what I recognized right away, it was like such an ultimate shift, was how much, and I knew this on one level, but it just also kind of almost reinforced and made me see it in a bigger way, was how much that we don't see ourselves as other people see us. And how sometimes even those of us who do a lot of work internally, that even there is some types of work don't actually still make us see very clearly and in a simple way certain things about ourselves that are important in business, right? Because I was someone who was knee-deep in self-development, for example. My father used to have lots of personal development books. He was a businessman that was very into that. So as a teenager, I could get access to, and there's a lot of things that I was quite interested in. So I had access to a lot of tools and things that many people didn't. Now, I'll be 54 this year, so, I've been accessing a lot of personal development things from particularly my late teens. I started really getting into it. And then after at 19, when my health started to really seriously deteriorate, I was dipping in and out of things. And then I started to study Reiki and meditation, and then I went down a whole different route. And one of the things that I knew was I knew certain aspects of it myself, and I'd done a lot of work, right, and a lot of deep work. But any of us that know when you're doing deep work, there's always other work. But also, sometimes we can do the work, but there's not always simple ways to categorize things. You can do things like, the Briggs personality tests and different things like that. And they can give you some elements, but it depends on how you're working. And as a self-employed, and one of the challenges that I, recognized, seeing it in so many of my fellow healers, therapists, and coaches who used to come and ask for my help, and obviously still do. But what I mean is, at that point, I always got, particularly healers and therapists that I knew asking me for help with their business, their marketing, and some advice and branding and things like that. One of the things that I noticed with them and in my own personal journey was most people were only scratching the surface in relation to knowing themselves, or actually being able to identify within all the things that they were offering what they were actually amazing at, right? What I noticed was many people were building their businesses around their tools and their techniques rather than their zone of genius, what they're actually great at. So when they go to market in their business, right, when they go to build a business, right, they're so focused on either the tools, or they don't understand themselves. They don't really know themselves, or they don't know what makes them more aligned with certain types of clients. And I don't mean just solution-led, so I'm going to go deeper into this, is that there's certain things that they don't see. Because one of the things that happened to me was when I started to go down, I was someone that, just to do my circumstances, I kept getting pushed to certain areas. It was like almost I would go down one road and it was like I would be hitting a brick wall. I'm one of these people, I'll just keep going. I'll keep trying to hit that brick wall. I'm not saying I do that now, but what I mean is I'm not someone that gives up. So what did I keep doing? Trying to break through the wall, try and go over the wall. And then I did realise later that sometimes the walls are there to tell you to go a different way and that path's not there for you. But at that point, I didn't see that. And it took me many years to realise that the biggest work that I got was, even though there was certain qualifications that I had, that was the only reason why certain organisations did get me, they were specialised skills. But why did I, in many contract cases, in organisations who usually hire lots of different people, they wanted to give me most of the work. And if they didn't get me, what did they do? They wanted me. So I did have therapists I would bring in, contractors. They wanted either me, my company, to provide all the therapists for their events or their things or their courses and things. And there was a lot of trust. And it wasn't till I had to leave that work just to do with different health circumstances, and I was getting guided that, there were certain things that I'd have to change, that got very, very emotional, because at that point I was just looking at the archetypes on a different level, and I started to see something that I hadn't noticed, and I was getting this feedback back, it's such a shame, because Eileen, we don't want anybody else. That's why I kept getting told, we don't want anybody else to do the work, we want you. And and then they were saying things to me, and it was like a shocker, because why I thought people hired me, why I thought clients came to me, was a completely different reason than what I thought. Because what I didn't see was some of my biggest assets, my personal assets, right? And things about me as a person, and even my traits, my core values, that were so important to these organizations and to these people. Resonance is very much like that. And in a spiritual business where you are often, it depends on what type of work you're doing, but often lots of spiritual work now. Most healers today are not just getting people showing up and just getting physical healing. Most healers, particularly if you're a healer that's been doing it for full time, maybe 10, 20, 30 years, right? Everybody's slightly different. A lot of people are getting into more like coaching or teaching and getting into more spiritual work and deeper work. And that is very different for someone just showing up for a physical healing and just coming, maybe they get a sore back, or they just want a massage. That kind of work is very different from being, there's a lot more depth to it, and resonance is even more important. It is like through the roof, right? And what I mean by that is it's a different level of resonance. And the easiest way I can explain it, I've bought a lot of courses over the last 3 years. I mean, I always invest time, but I mean a lot of money. I've invested a lot of money. One of my friends nearly their chin dropped when I told them how much I'd invested, over the last 2 years particularly. But one of the things that when I am investing in something, what does resonance mean to me? Well, it depends on what I'm buying. So if I'm buying maybe a physical product, right, for example, like someone help me a massage or a body or something like that, there might be certain things that I'm looking for, right? A certain level of experience, certain insight, maybe a bit of more awareness. For example, there's a therapist I went to for years. She doesn't really do many of the types of things that I need now. She just, to do her own health, and she's a certain age now, there's certain things she doesn't do. But I went to her over and over again because she was thorough, very thorough. She had a wide range of experience. She always went above and beyond what she did. And she's very similar to me. There is very strong caregiver archetype in her, which is they tend to be, anybody that's got strong caregiver archetype traits tend to be they take their practice very seriously, right? So that it's like the mother protection thing. So it's all about making sure that the person is that they do no harm. That's a fundamental thing. It's like a child, making sure that first and foremost the person's protected, and they tend to be a bit cautious, right? So that they tend to overtrain. They're always training, right, to make sure that they're doing the best for their clients, that they're not, and they've got often a big thing about not ripping their clients off, right? So they tend to be very generous, making sure that they're doing for the greater good than anything else, right? So for that type of thing, that's who I go to, and I'm very much, because of the challenges that I want to go to someone I'm going to feel safe. I don't want to go to someone that's a big risk taker. So if I'm going to someone for my physical, I'm not going to go to someone that is a strong rebel archetype. And I might actually not even go, even though I'm a bit of an alchemist, if someone has slight rebel traits and is an alchemist, I'm not going to go to them often for my health. Why? Right, for certain things, my health, because they are not as much about safety and effectiveness. They are risk takers, right? They're willing just to try things, right? And sometimes experimenting people. So that's not going to, now that might appeal to someone else in that area, but it definitely, I don't want anybody. I've had so many people experiment me and use me as guinea pigs, and take my money that I'm, I don't want that. So this is, this is understanding resonance. But then saying that, if I go to a spiritual teacher and I'm wanting to learn something, or I want to take myself on a different level, it can depend on what it is. Now I started investing 3 years ago, and someone who's very, very expensive, but he's worth every penny. But most people would think, why would somebody like me invest in him? And on one level, what I mean is a phenomenal teacher, right? A phenomenal teacher, and someone that has genuinely worked with the top healers in the world. He's regarded because he's phenomenal results, right? He's phenomenal results, and he does not take any fools. He's very strong masculine, a strong masculine archetype. Now, you could say there is maybe a little bit of the rebel. I would say he is a strong leader, but there is a very, very strong masculine. He's probably one of the most strongest masculine energy that I've ever worked. And he says as it is, he does not care if he offends people. He's all about truth, right? And I felt very attracted to that because I needed it. I was sick of the bullshit. I was sick of a lot of things, being told things that were, or being buying things that were only scratching the surface and weren't deep enough, and that investing in things that where people were saying this is one of the most powerful, and these are, when it wasn't, it was still basic spiritual tools. There were, and it was, during the pandemic and for other personal reasons, I knew that I've always had challenges with boundaries, even though I've got better with it. One of my biggest weaknesses in my life is having healthy boundaries. And I knew it was coming. There was lots of things that I knew personally that I was going to have challenges with, and I knew I needed the support of someone with that strong, very strong boundaries, and a very strong masculine energy, right? That where I'm completely the opposite. So what was my resonance? It was a deep desire. Now, I'm not saying I wanted to be him, but I needed that. It was the yang, the yin and yang, right? So my unconscious, probably on a conscious level, I was not, but on an unconscious, at first I didn't know why I was attracted to him, because on some level, what I mean, I'm thinking, why am I going to this guy? But on another, knew because he was so powerful. But what I mean on another level, because some of the things that you do, I would never do. Actually, it's helped me enormously, because it's helped me own more of my truth and own more of things that probably were I needed, right? So I want you to think about your audience, right? why one person goes to one person and one goes to another. It might not be what you think, right? And one of the things that when people do archetype work with me or go on the coaching programs like that include getting into the archetypes and getting into your soul, getting into your gifts, is most of them have so many aha moments that it blows their mind, right? Because they start to see themselves in a completely new light, right? And it's like almost a fast track way to see shadow elements that you couldn't see, right? Or you were so close. It's like, we can't see the wood from the trees because we're so in it, right? And it's the same as like, so I can help, for example, I can help lots of people with different things in their business, but sometimes I am so close to the situation, I've more blocks about my own business. So I can find it easier to do the marketing to help other clients because I can see objectively, I'm seeing it from not an emotional perspective, right? There's not that, because when we have an emotional attachment to something, it's the ego is often so over identified with whatever that it can't see things from an objective perspective. And it's the same with ourselves. We often are not objective about our gifts, our traits, what makes our friends or family attractive, and the things that annoy them about us, right? Or the things that we've not got right. It's, other people can say, but we often, until we start doing the work and we start, and in a soul aligned business, you want authenticity, obviously, is so important, but resonance. You want to be working with the clients that you're supposed to be working with. One of the complaints that I get from clients is that I just can't get clients that are committed, or I can't get clients that really want to do the work. They want me to do the work for them. And we understand that. And that is why it's so important that you know yourself. But one of the things that can happen is that many healers think they know themselves and they think they've done the work. But there's so many layers and there's so many different types of work that you can do. And that is why it's one of the reasons why I decided to do the soul Step Into Your Soul Mission program, because for years and years and years, you can help people with the business and marketing, but why are some people extremely powerful in their work, and why are other people not? Why are some people extremely powerful and find it very easy to make big impacts in their work and keep and getting a business that flows, and why there's other people who are extremely gifted, phenomenally gifted, that struggle? And it's often because they're not identifying, they're not owning, and they're not embracing and basically sharing in their business and their market in a clear enough way that actually things that would really resonate with their audience, that are actually the game changer, right? And I don't mean that you go on saying that you're if you've got certain qualities, it's not just you, it's not about you going on and saying, it's about doing key things in your branding and marketing that will help them feel that. It's about doing certain things that it's like when you go into a relationship with someone, some relationships you can if you've got to a certain time in your life and maybe you've been in a crisis point, you're maybe very upfront and able to be very transparent in that relationship very quickly and say, well, look, this, and this, and these are things about me, and that can click. But there's other times in relationships it take time to build up trust. But when you're building a business, of course it's nurturing, it's building up trust, but if you're starting a business, you can't wait 12 months just to get one paying client. There will be, some people that take maybe longer to build that trust, and there's some people that are not quite ready for this, to invest yet. But you can't build a business on just waiting, right? So what you have to do is be able to, in your business, put the things across that are really, really important to your audience for resonance. And values is really important, traits, but there's different elements to that. And when you can understand what is really important to your audience and who your soul clients truly are, not who you would want them to be or you think they are, but who they truly are, you can take your business to a whole level. Now, one of the things that I like to go, as you probably tell, I like to go deep. I like to go deep with everything. When I learn things, I like to go deep, right? And some people might think I overcomplicate things, and maybe part of that's true. But I'm also do recognise that there's a lot of falsehoods and there's a lot of things, and particularly if you look at modalities, when you've learned lots of modalities and you've practiced a lot of modalities for a long time, and also know lots of healers and therapists that have practiced modalities a long time. One of the things that they won't maybe tell their clients, but they'll tell, for fellow therapists and healers that they trust. I know so many people that have went down and, it's maybe the latest type of healing modality or the latest type of technique. And, it's marketed that 99% of clients that will solve this problem and blah, 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 or this is the results. And many of them, it takes maybe about 5 years practicing it. Then they've been doing it, promoting it, that it's great. And then after the 5 years, they'll say, it's not as effective as what we were told it was. Because by that time, they've had enough clients that it didn't work for, or it didn't do, no matter they might see a situation where that client is trying really hard and they're applying it and they're realizing that something is not exactly, and there's other things going on. And what they get to a point is that they understand that we often know there's a lot of things said that's not always 100% truth, right? So I'm someone who likes to, because of that, and I see a lot of people when they're naive in their first few years in business, and then often sometimes make a lot of claims that they can't back up, right? And then you see the opposite side. You see people who are very humble, don't say much, and they have phenomenal results. They have everybody that comes through the door, they have phenomenal results with. And you see different parts of the picture. And I like to go deep because of my own experiences, I always think there's more layers to things. If you look at so much about spirituality, there is more things than what we talk, because the world, the universe, there is so many more things to it than we can possibly perceive, right? And in many ways, we're all unique, right? And we all are complex in some ways, and there's things about us that are also simple, right? But your audience is complex, right? And what's going to make someone trust you is going to be very different from somebody else, right? And even within the archetypes, there's like subcategories and there's sub things goes on, right? And it's why you really want to start to really know yourself a bit better. If you're really someone who says, I know I'm on an important mission, but I am not, for some reason, I'm just not in my business doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I've trained in all these things. I know for some reason, I'm just not doing what I'm here to do, right? If you're in that position, or you're in a position that you know that for some reason, you just don't, you know that you can help people, right? But you know on some level that you're only scratching the surface and knowing yourself, knowing what your zone of genius is, right? Knowing what your gifts, maybe you're lacking confidence in your gifts, maybe you're lacking skills, you keep, dipping in and out, or you're offering products and services and nobody's buying, right? There's something, there's a resonance that's not there. There's something you're not in alignment with. And one of the things that many people want to do is fast track the purpose thing. They just want to create products and services and sell, or they just want to learn a technique, often people start off with the basic. If you think of the basic modalities, lots of people start off with things like Reiki or the holistic therapies, right? And then start up the business and they're just trying to make money out of that modality, but that might not actually be where they're supposed to be. I trained, and so I started with Reiki meditation. While I was bed and housebound, I got access to stress management courses, so I was starting to study all that, right? And I started studying counselling, psychology, psychotherapy. And then once I started getting better, I went and done some of these to college and university level, right? Now, when I started, how my business is nothing like how it started. There was things I wanted to do and I wasn't fit to do, for starters, but the universe had other plans for me. And also, even many of the challenges, further health challenges I had, were part of that universal plan because it took me to teachers, it took me down pathways, it helped me ask questions, it helped me look at so many things that I wouldn't be able to do what I do today the way I do it, right? And your journey is exactly the same. But so is your superpowers in your archetypal traits, right? When you understand your archetypal traits, when you understand different dimensions within your archetypal traits, when you understand the power of certain strengths that people can understand in a simple way, right? And that's where, when you understand certain things and you understand how to bring it into your business more in a concrete way, it makes things so much easier. So if you are in any of those positions and are really serious about going on your spiritual path and you're ready to go so deep in your spiritual work, right? Go so deep to get to know yourself a bit better and even learn some strategies that I use that I've been taught. Some of them are combined, some of them I have to go on my own signature techniques that I have used and adapted from some of the most powerful teachers that I have worked with. And they're about help me really get into a deep soul connection, to be able to expand and heighten your heaven and earth connection, right? To help you check in, because I believe in using a combination of strategies to check in that something's right for you, it's not right for you. Some people just use odd strategies and they'll say, well, this is one or two. I always say, use a couple because for different reasons. Because sometimes certain things don't work if we're being hijacked energetically. And at the moment, there's a lot of hijacking energetically going on. If you are ready to take your journey and your spiritual path to another level, my 10-week coaching and healing program is designed for you. It's designed for those of you, the awakened healers, or those healers that are awakening, that are really ready to take their mission to a new level, want to start to know themselves a bit better and to feel more confident. And that's the key. We're going to get into really deep stuff. We're going to get into foundational stuff to make sure we get you all the basics right, but that you can use these strategies within your own journey constantly to keep, checking in with where you're at that moment on your mission and what work you have to do at that point. Because I do think, obviously, things transition and we evolve. This is a course. It's not a course that I'm teaching for you go and, teach other people. As my signature course. It's a course to help you and for me to, in a way, kind of help hold your hand as we step in, because I do believe we're at such a powerful time, and it's a challenging time, but it's a time that we can make such powerful, phenomenal changes in the world. We can do this, and we can also make phenomenal changes in our own life. I know for me, some of these investments and on a spiritual level have been the best thing that I've ever done, because it's helped me evolve and shift in areas that I really were struggling to shift, right? And I want to support you and help and nurture you so that going into your business, you are more clear, you're more strong, and you also understand who are your soul clients, who you are, what is a strong part of your mission, what is a strong part of your purpose. I want you to see the gifts that you have in a way that you never saw before, right? So if you're interested, I will be sharing the link below. But remember, client resonance is not just the conscious. Often it's the unconscious, particularly when we're doing certain types of work, that is even more important. Bye for now.